Hello everyone, I'm Alan, also known as McLaren 2009, and today I'm playing Train Sim World 3. Haven't decided what route I want to run though. In theory, I would continue on with the Sherman Hill, but if I'm being honest, that one's kind of been letting me down. So what if we switch it up a little bit and go to... Why do I not have a... Okay, not gonna deal with that. Wait a minute. Okay, so this one doesn't have a, it says I've completed it, but I don't have a score. Alright, so that's what we're gonna do. Westbound delivery. Going to the sand patch grade instead of Sherman Hill. Gonna mix it up a little bit. Sort of. Not sure how I don't have a score for this one, even though it says I completed it. So we're just gonna roll with it. Turns out the last time that I played this one, I had the location wrong. I had thought it was somewhere in Pennsylvania, but no, that's not the case. Cumberland is Maryland. Okay. We have 2 locomotives. Lights, gauge lights, cab lights. $30. I need to figure out where is that one. Is it this one? Yep. Right there. Okay. Still no conductor. Oh no. We gotta go back here. Need to go check out this cab. That's controlled from another end. Alright, so that's good. Go back here. Go back up here. Go up here. Turn this on, turn that on. Controlling with unit coupled at long hood end. Alright. And just like that, we are set up-ish. Okay. Oh. Okay. It's this one. Alright. Put it into forward. Kick off the pendant. And we'll start rolling. But the thing is, we're going downhill, so we don't need to throttle up that far. Just kind of like crack it open. This is an ST4. No, this is just a GP38. Yeah, GP38-2. Instead of the Sherman Hill, which I've been working on, instead I'm doing it with the sand patch grade. Cool. Alright, so I think if this is the job that I think it is, all I gotta do is just hook up to some stuff, move some things around, and all is right and good. Switches. Make sure that's good. Alright, we gotta be below 5 miles an hour when I actually couple with the cars, but we'll deal with that when we get there. Although one thing I should look at, I need to see if the cut bar is open. Okay. The only one that's explicitly told you to make sure that you do that is the Cajon Pass for Train Sim World 3. But it's probably a good habit to get in, even if it doesn't do anything in the game. Alright, keep an eye on that. I gotta be careful with this specific route, because I think this is the one that I did as part of a video, and I potentially broke some things. In fact, I derailed the first time I did this scenario. Unattached locomotives. Okay. Alright, the weather's a little rough. Not so sunny in the Cumberland yard. It's kind of weird that I mixed up where Cumberland was, because I've been there in real life. But with that being said, I have been a lot of places. So you might be able to forgive not remembering everywhere I've been. Alright, so all we gotta do is just back up. No, no, no. And this is 900 tons. Alright, so those are absolutely not empty. Found the problem. I shouldn't have been able to move. The brakes were cut out. Alright, so I gotta wait for the pressure to build back up. Alright, I've been playing V-Rail Alley for too long because it doesn't have that. Clearly I've been forgetting how to play Train Sim World. Alright, so we gotta wait for the pressure to build back up to operating pressure. And it should be able to move once it gets up to about 89 psi. Approximately. But yeah, I had the automatic brakes cut out completely, so... I just didn't have brakes other than the independent. At least I turned the MU valve this time. Okay. Now we can move. I guess in theory I should have went out and double checked to see if any of the handbrakes are tied. But I think I have completed this scenario before, so I don't think any of the brakes are tied. Realistically, they should be tied. But if we're being honest, the freight routes in this game leave a little bit to be desired. And that's one of those things. But it's kind of a weird thing because it kind of toes a line between realistic simulator and something that's fun to play as a video game. So no matter which way you go, you pretty much can't win. The people that want, like, insane realism, most of the realistic things aren't in the game. So they'll probably never be happy. And then on the other end, the people that are just like, I kind of just want to play the game. If you do those things, you'll probably push away those people. So you win some, you lose some. And these are covered gondolas. Probably with, like, grain, a couple of boxcars in there. I do actually like this route because the trains do what they're supposed to do. Like, the locomotives are programmed to actually work. Like, the lights come on like they're supposed to. You can use the slow speed functions for the ES44s. Little stuff like that. Whereas on, like, the Cajon Pass allows you to play with the distributed power settings They don't really do anything, but you can turn them on. But there's like a whole second monitor in the cab that literally doesn't do anything in the game. And you look at that second monitor and you're like, well, there's the slow speed controls, but you can't do anything with that monitor other than make it brighter or make it dim. And then take the frustration with that and then transfer it over to the Sherman Hill, and it has even less functionality. And then a few other things that make it kind of frustrating, and I don't particularly like that route, but that's a whole nother thing entirely. Whereas, like, this route, at least the things are there. Like, it has voiced dialogue, the scenarios are explained. Like, this is generally a good route. Although you would kind of hope that it was, considering this was like one of the things that was just in Train Sim World 2 by default. So if it didn't work, let down is not the word. That's independent, this is train, this is dynamic. Introduction. This would be kind of like a weird thing that when Simulator comes out for Derail Valley, you'll be able to play it from this third-person perspective. So you can kind of play that like you would this. Now, since I pretty much exclusively play in VR, you can pretty much guarantee that I will do no such thing. But it's cool that they're putting it in. I kind of like the aspect of doing it in VR where you can actually, like, it seems like you're touching the controls. You just don't have that in this. Like, in theory, something like this could be, like, modified to be played in VR, in theory, kind of like how the Microsoft Flight Simulator has a VR mode, except it's kind of right up there with, like, Elite Dangerous. Elite Dangerous can be played in VR, except you can't use your VR controllers. It's not made to be a VR game. So, kind of going the other direction, you have on your headset and it feels like you're in the vehicle, but you still have to be using your keyboard, mouse, joystick. You still have to do all of that stuff. And it's just kind of weird. Whereas something like Derail Valley, where you use your VR controllers, and that works wonders. Or if you want to fly instead of playing with trains, I might recommend something like VTOL VR. Great game, built from the ground up for VR. So you do everything with your tracked motion controllers in VR. So it's like a whole different kind of experience. Those things where you actually manipulate the controls with your VR controllers, those are like a whole different experience. It's like the perfect thing to do in VR. Because if you want to feel like you're actually doing something kind of unusual that you might not be able to do in your day-to-day life, VR is the way to do it. Like, if somebody hypothetically made this to have a VR mod, it would probably be just like the Flight Simulator or Elite Dangerous, where you have on the headset, but you still have like your keyboard and mouse to control things. And it's completely different from being able to use your VR controllers and what seems like your actual hands to manipulate the controls. It's just a completely different thing. Alright, let's apply some independent brake. In theory, using the independent brake too much to try to slow down an entire train is just going to wear out the independent brake shoes. And that's a bad idea. But we're going pretty slow. It's not like we're going to induce brake fading and failure going 6 miles an hour. It's possible, but not likely. Now, I gotta be careful with this specific scenario, because you see those two locomotives right there? Those are going to move. I don't know when, but they are going to move at some point. And if they start moving before I'm done, they're going to block my path and cause me to fail the scenario. Alright, fully apply that. Alright, let's climb out of the cab. I guess in theory I could have done it from that side. That way this is uncoupled. Yeah. Because I know I'm going to go hook up to even more cars, and I'm going to tack them onto those, and we're going to make this train even bigger. So, look at the map. We gotta go back to here. And then I think we're gonna go down here. No, because that's right there. Alright. No idea. Alright, so pop it into reverse. Throttle up. Kick off the independent. In theory, all I would really need is to go to notch 2. Because I have 2 GP38s with no cargo on a very small slope. Just notch 1 will probably make you move. And given the fact that it's raining, you don't want to run too fast anyway. Because this is just asking to slide and hit something. So see, you go up to notch 1, speed is rising. So going all the way up to notch 2 is just asking for problems. You know, I was saying earlier that the headlights work. Well, yeah, I guess that is true, but it's weird because the trailing locomotive is doing exactly what the leading locomotive is doing, and it didn't differentiate the fact that they're connected at the long hood end, so the front lights are acting like the back lights. So since I'm going in reverse, it set the lights for my locomotive to be on the back, and since the light control switch is just a trailing locomotive controlled from either end, it's just going to do whatever the thing it's connected to is doing. So it's kind of weird, and it's making it so that its backlights are bright, so they're just flashing each other. It's very bizarre. Okay. Why are we going there? Okay. Do I have the wrong scenario? Alright. We're going down to the other end of these cars. Alright, kick off the independent. And let's release the throttle. It is still really cool to play this game, it's just there are some things about it that I don't particularly like. But I do like how, like, the models look. The weather's pretty cool. And the simulation of how the things work is pretty cool. It's definitely lacking in some areas, but it's still generally good, in my opinion. It's actually one of the things that's a really cool improvement between Train Sim World 2 and 3 is just that. The change of what the objective markers look like makes a world of difference. Like if you go back to Train Sim World 2, the go via marker and the stop marker look very similar at a passing glance. So it got really, really annoying because you're just scanning through the screen trying to like watch for anything jumping out at you. And then you're like, okay, in 300 meters I gotta do something. And then you come to a complete stop only to find out you weren't supposed to stop, you're supposed to keep going. Whereas in this game, it is significantly more clear. Like, that has a hexagon and a hand telling you to stop, whereas the go via one is very clearly an arrow. It's just, they don't have any similarities. Like, you can't possibly get them confused. And it's just so much better in this one versus the old one. On one hand, a system like that would be kind of cool if they did it in Derail Valley. Like, they're gonna have the two gauges, just like this. Yeah, it's like they're gonna have the two gauges, but instead of the main and equalizing reservoir, and then the cylinder and pipe, they're just going to have the main reservoir, cylinder, and pipe without the equalizing reservoir. So it would kind of make sense if they had like the main and equalizing on one thing, and then the cylinder and pipe on one. I mean, essentially it's going to be like that, it's just they'll be the other way around. The cylinder and pipe will be here, and then you'll have the main right here. So I guess the only thing I'm really saying is it would be cool if it had the fourth gauge for the equalizing reservoir, but nobody expects the game to be a one-for-one simulation. Actually, I can't say that nobody expects that, because I'll guarantee at least one person does, but I personally do not. I'm perfectly happy with it just looking like a locomotive, and I can play around with it in VR. Yeah, that's literally the entire reason I got the game in the first place. I don't actually know why I got Train Sim World 2. Like, 3 had already come out when I got 2. 2 was like on sale or something, and I kind of got it completely at random. I was just like, wouldn't that be kind of cool? Yeah, I honestly have no idea why I got Train Sim World 2. I got 3 because it was supposed to be an improvement over 2, and I got 3 earlier this year when I was actively working on trying to go to work for the railroad. So, I got 3 because it was supposed to be an improvement over 2, but I don't have the slightest idea of why I got 2 in the first place. I honestly don't remember. I think it was just on sale, and I was like, wouldn't that be kind of cool? Because when I got started with 2, I was still driving trucks. And I hadn't even considered applying to the railroad at that point. So I just got it because I wanted to try it, I guess? And then I had already had it for a couple of months, but I hadn't really played it all that much. And then I started applying to work for the railroad, and then I was like, well, I absolutely gotta get the Horseshoe Curve DLC for obvious reasons. Not that. This is... Okay, if we get up out of the seat and then sit back down in the seat, when I press the 2, I can go all the way to the back. Or I can go to the other end. It's kind of weird. Definitely should have set the brake there, but I didn't because I'm terrible at what I do. And luckily the cars are already pressurized, so we just hook up and go. Now, one thing that's really cool about doing this in, like, Derail Valley is because you have to do everything by hand. Like, yeah, the American-style coupler that we have here, because obviously this is in Maryland, and we use knuckle couplers here in the US. Those are really simple to use. You just pop it open, make sure one of them is unlocked, you slam into the other one, they lock closed, the pins drop, the knuckles locked in place, and we're golden. You're now coupled onto the car. Well, there's one more step. You still have to tie in air. Whereas when you play in, like, Derail Valley, you don't have the knuckles unless you have the mod for it. I don't have the mod for it, but that one probably would be safe to get if I ever felt so inclined as to start using mods. The knuckle would probably be a safe one to use, but with that in mind, with just the way the game is set up by default, you have the chain and hook coupling system, and there's no way to just slam into it and just automatically lock it closed. It doesn't work like that. You gotta back up, come to a complete stop, go back there, throw the hook or throw the chain over the hook, torque it down, and then couple your air hoses. Whereas this, you can just bump into it and then you go back and tie in your air. unless you're doing like some very limited like in yard stuff where for some reason you just didn't tie in the air because you just didn't feel like it. I don't know. I don't work for the railroad. But it seems like not tying in the air would be a bad idea. But what do I know? In any regard, what I'm getting at is that in this, all you gotta do is just bump into it and you're done. That's it. You get like a temporary kind of like holding thing where it tells you to like wait for further instructions, something like that. Alright, cool. But it requires nothing on your part. Whereas it's not quite that simple. Yeah, getting the knuckle to close is pretty easy, and it almost does it itself. But the you won't have air unless you actually go back and tie in the hoses. Switch. Yeah. That one's weird. You gotta be really careful with that one. Well, now we actually have cargo. To formation. 34 vehicles. Oh, this is not the one that I thought it was. Yeah, this is not the scenario that I thought it was. I don't have a YouTube video of this. In fact, I don't think I've completed this one before. Alright, so we're blazing new ground. Either way, I still think those are going to move. But, with any luck, it won't be my problem. Let's slow it down. Going uphill, but... still a mile away, so almost a mile away. So we've got time to worry about it. But just in case, let's save it. In case some tragedy befalls and I like somehow manage to find a way to derail. Because I have done it. So I'm going to save so I don't have to go back and redo all of this. Even though I didn't do a whole lot, I don't want to do it again, if that makes sense. And this game is not at all forgiving. Not in the slightest. Matter of fact, let's kill that. There. Now I have a thumbnail. I didn't know what scenario I was going to get involved in when I loaded up the game. I just knew I was going to do something in Train Sim World 3. Although between this, Sherman Hill, and Horseshoe Curve, I'm essentially playing Train Sim World 2, but I'm doing it by running 3. Aren't those compatibility routes fun? Although I guess I could have done the Cajon Pass, because I do like that one. It doesn't disappoint me. And it's also the only route I have that actually is from Train Sim World 3. So really, I should play that one more, instead of going back and retroactively playing the compatibility versions from 2. It would probably be more fun for my purposes if I just stuck with that one. But at least the good news is the compatibility ones from 2 that were brought into 3, they fixed any of the issues and bugs that I encountered playing the routes in 2. They work in 3. Specifically the Horseshoe Curve, there was this weird red light glitch where there would be absolutely nothing on the track in either direction, and it would just be locked at a red light. And if you pass the red signal, you fail the scenario. And it would just be locked like that, and it would not change. I literally sat there eating lunch, waiting for the light to change, checking the map, seeing if there's anything coming that I'm just not seeing. None of that was happening. It was just stuck on a red light. It was the most annoying thing ever. I literally could not continue the journey on Horseshoe Curve because of one specific scenario that I couldn't even start. So then when I upgraded from 2 to 3, I went back and I continued that rail journey on that specific scenario, and much to my amazement, the light was finally green, and I got distracted by the cars over there. It's a game about trains. Ignore the cars. Yeah, the RV just caught my attention. I just watched it slide and then slide, and it's just oh, you're not supposed to do that. You don't drift in a Class A motorhome. As much as the TV shows might have you believe that, no. Just no. But yeah, it had the green light, and I could finally start the scenario. But then the other things started happening that were exclusive to just 3. I didn't have this problem in 2. And those problems were really, really weird. And what I mean by that is the train wouldn't move. I had the green signal, I could go, but the train wouldn't. and then you go back and try to do like the multiple unit tutorial where it explicitly tells you, oh, the cranes are already set up, you don't have to do anything, just get in and go. Well, I found out the crane was not set up. You could not just get in and go. So I actually had to read the GE manual for the real ES44AC locomotive. The actual owner's manual, if you spent the couple $1 million and bought one of these things. I read the instructions on how to use it. And only then did I figure out what switches you have to press in order to make the real locomotive move. And it turns out there was like this weird thing where some of the switches were not set properly, like they were in the wrong position. So, in case you're curious, the trick of what you do with the real one, for lead locomotives, turn on everything. For trailing locomotives, leave the engine to run, generator field off, control off, dynamic brake off. And then set that to trail, set that to cut out, and then set that to being controlled remotely from another vehicle. Now, that explanation is just for the GP38-2. The ES44AC is actually the same things for like these, but everything else is done from the smart display. It's fairly straightforward, and it's not hard to do it, but you may go back to all of the other locomotives that you took the game at its word, and it was like, yeah, everything else is set up exactly as it's supposed to be. So you don't have to do anything. And then, well, you took it at its word, and then you go back and find out that, oh, the reason I keep blowing the traction motors is because locomotive number 5 in the sequence of like 7 had its generator field on, and I've just been working against myself. But you don't know that because the tutorial doesn't tell you that. The tutorial just says, oh, everything's good. You don't have to double check anything. It's all fine. You can just get in and go. Well, you just sit down, get in and go, and you go to throttle up and realize, okay, we're not moving, so let's throttle up again. And then once you get to notch 5 and you're still not moving, first you're going to get the wheel slip alarm, then you're going to get the emergency shutdown of the traction motors alarm, and you're just dead. You have to restart the scenario. It wasn't until I figured out how to actually set up the locomotive that I finally realized, okay, I gotta go double check the scenario, because some wires got crossed somewhere in a script or something, and it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's a weird thing that's very hard to explain, and it was extremely frustrating because I got so annoyed with it that I finally read cover to cover the real owner's manual for the actual locomotive, and then that explained all of the things that are not in the game. And then it's just like, oh, I guess it's not as good of a simulator as I thought it was. Like, just looking at the smart display for that specific locomotive, you get to that part of the manual, and you find out it has maybe a third of the systems that the real one has. Now, for gameplay purposes, you don't need those systems in the game. They're not going to do anything for you if you're playing the game, but it's just interesting when you find out that those systems are there. Like, I didn't read the manual for the GP38, just the ES44AC. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say that these self-test indicators probably don't work. Like, if I actually had wheel slip, I don't know if that would come on. The one on the heads-up display would come on, but I don't think that one will. But I could be wrong about that. Alright, we're past the locomotives. Alright, now as long as they don't start moving before I get back onto this track. Then we're good. There's a slim chance they might start moving before then, and I'm really hoping they don't, but the option is there. It kind of determines whether or not this is going to be a fun experience, or if it's going to be a frustrating nightmare that I hate with every fiber of my being. It can go either way. I truly don't know with this game. Because I can't stop right here and be good. See what I mean? Okay. Damn it! They moved. Alright, let's derail a train. Because now I have to go around you. Yeah, like, the game wants it so that, like, the world is alive and all of that. Except, like, this should not be allowed to happen. This is a scripted scenario. Why is it possible for two random locomotives to completely break the scenario? Why is that a thing? I gotta get there. Alright, let's see. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. Go past this switch, and I can still control these switches. So this will get me back up to here, and I can bypass this right here. Okay. All hope is not lost. I don't think the game should be able to allow this to happen. Like, this isn't even like a workshop or community-created scenario. No, this is a default scenario that is in this game. And I've essentially been barricaded by AI that is not AI. It's working off of a script. It has a simulated timetable that tells it to move. Okay, let's pop it into reverse. Alright, just in case you want to try and mess with me, you gotta flip that switch. Okay. Yeah, and see, they're not even doing anything. They're just sitting there. They literally moved just to block my path, and now they're just sitting there. Like, this seems like the situation where I would walk over and, like, knock on the window or something and be like, "Can you move? I kinda need to be there." But it's whatever. Alright. Now we don't even have a path anymore, so we gotta figure it out. Going? Going downhill in the wrong direction. Alright, let's just go to not one. I really hope this isn't the hump. Oh, it is. Fantastic. Alright, I guess we're using the hump. I have this sinking suspicion you're not supposed to hump locomotives. But this is where we are. I get soft locked by unmanned AI locomotives. And instead of raining, now it's snowing. I think the dynamic weather is based off of either where you are in real life Or maybe it's a snapshot of where the location is. I'm leaning more towards it's a snapshot of the location because it's currently in the 60s where I am. So yeah, there's absolutely not a chance of it snowing here. I mean, on one hand, it's kind of cool to see the sorting end of the hump yard, but I should never have been in a position where this had to happen. The game failed me. Okay, good. At least we're aligned with the right track. So, little victories. And the last time this happened, because this is the scenario that I did. No. You fuck off. No. I am not playing your games. It's going back to the position that it started in. Are you kidding me? I hate it. I hate it. But yes, I have done this scenario before, and the last time this happened, I got down here, and literally on this switch right here, I popped off the rails. I derailed on that switch. No idea how. I was going like 5. But derailed right there, trying to go around these rejects. These guys messed me up last time, and they messed me up this time. Now I gotta slow down because we're going too fast. Please tell me there is no way for them to thwart me again. Okay, no. I'm going to a service track. They are going towards those cars. Okay. I absolutely would have rage quitted at the... would have, like, just gave up and just, like, quit the game if it would have been possible for them to block my path again. I would have absolutely lost it. That was the wrong button. Oh well. It's in there now. And flip that to going that way. Yeah, you gotta do some weird stuff in this game. It never should have happened like that. Let's look in the cab. Can I turn on a heater? There's snow outside. I absolutely would have lost it if it would have been possible for them to cut me off again. Is there even a marker? I can only assume there's currently a blizzard in Cumberland, Maryland. If I were driving a truck, I would have shut down. I have, like, no visibility. I'm not losing it. There is no marker. Oh boy. Well, that was frustrating. It... Why? Why is it like this? Now, let's see what it looks like. Yeah, after it kind of blocked my progress, it's kind of disheartening. Alright, complete repairs, get put back into service. Yeah, I'll pick up on this another day. The good news is I did successfully complete the scenario. The bad news is I kind of got a little bit frustrated with it. So yeah, I think I'm probably gonna call it there, so I don't have something even more bizarre happen with this scenario and I just completely lose what's left of my sanity. So yes, this has been Train Sim World 3. Thank you all for watching, and have a nice day.